had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside to dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
Seed in our homeland, boys, let it grow where all can see. Feed it with our devotion, boys, call it the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. stand on the old Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the fight for boys, we were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper, boys, beneath the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes.
And 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Corky. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and south. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube via live stream, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, AM and FM conventional stations, CB base stations, and UltraNet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in the lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying two states, territories, and the clock, 5:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Thursday. It is the 15th of October. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K, 2000 and... Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. 2020, old Earth calendar, 2020, year of conflict, year of betrayal, battle for the Republic, dance of swords. And if you're seeing all the dribble that's being popped out, all of a sudden, last minute, oh my goodness, all of a sudden we discovered what's going on with Biden, and of course from the other end, it's Trumposaurus, oh God, blah, 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 blah. Here's how it works. Step back. Hold on. Let me grab that coffee here. Let's step back for a minute. 2 or 3 steps. Take a calm breath. Let half of it out. There we go. Now let's have some coffee here. Smell. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now taste. Old Polish saying, not my circus, and none of those are my monkeys. Or in other words, not my circus, not my monkeys. Anyway, with the dribble that's going on right now, the intensity, guys, the fraud is in, okay? All the rest of this is to baffle everybody with BS and make you believe that somehow you're going to have some effect with whatever the hell it is that's going on. Here's how it works. Have you watched any of the propaganda about NAFTA and GATT? I've had stuff inundated to me in emails, and those bastards love NAFTA and GATT. The Democrats gave us NAFTA and GATT. Now that's not a lie, but it's a half lie, or it's a half truth. Which do you want to call that? I guess it's a lie, okay? But it's a half truth. After all, let me take you back to the heady days of I don't want George Bush, and I would say in the same breath, I do not want Bill Clinton, okay? The 1992 election. George Herbert Walker Bush was already going after gun owners and had been for nigh on 8 years. There was all kinds of anti-gun stuff done when Reagan was in. It was pushed by by Bush Senior, George Herbert Walker Bush, and progressively, that term is quite appropriate, progressives are on both sides, comrade. They are globalists. You have the Democrat neocon-type globalists, communists, and you have the neocon globalist communists on the Republican side. And they're all hating America. They all want to destroy the border, knock everything down, et cetera, et cetera. We know about the tripe that the excrement and filth were pushing. It's been around for a while, okay? But in 1991 and 1992, if you were around, and some of you are probably just slightly too young to remember because you probably weren't even listening to radio or television. Well, Rush Limbaugh was around. Rush Limbaugh was around back then, guys, wasn't he? Rush Limbaugh's been around for a while. He's gotten his pat on the head and squeeze on the ass for all the lies he's helped to commit too. Okay. What was the running theme and anthem of the Republicrats during the 1991-1992 election cycle? NAFTA and GATT. We have to have NAFTA and GATT. If you get George Herbert Walker Bush in there, he will make America stronger with NAFTA and GATT. You'll have jobs out the door and gone, but you're not supposed to think about that. And George Herbert Walker Bush, because you need NAFTA and GATT. That was the Republicrats. And by the way, I was doing radio back then, and I actually was on several different, mid-grade, like multi-station FM networks at different times, and I was doing interviews before American Peril. And you could talk about anything, all those blasted commies, the communists, it's horrible, all the Democrats, they're like hyper-liberal. And then, and by the way, that's why we need to stop NAFTA and GATT. What? Well, NAFTA and GATT is good. And, of course, every one of these stations, because they knew where their bread was buttered, would parrot the George Herbert Walker Bush agenda, cut you off in a heartbeat and tell you all about how you just didn't know what you were talking about. No, they loved anything else you were saying as long as you didn't interfere with the agenda to screw the American economy. And this was going on all the way up to, when the fake-ass election took place, like so many fake-ass elections we've had in this country. And all of a sudden, instead of George Bush getting in there, because they realized nobody really cared for either one, but they realized that everybody knew what George Bush was up to with Rex 84 and all the other stuff that had happened before that, where he was going with things. And everybody was ready for him. So they threw Bill Clinton in there. Well, everybody knew that was a commie, just like this whole situation we have here with Trump and Biden. Same scenario, same game, different day, different century even, okay? However, what was Bill Clinton's running motto during the 92 election? A vote for Bill Clinton is a vote against NAFTA. Well, you have to vote Bill Clinton in there to stop NAFTA dead in its tracks. Bill Clinton will protect the UAW. Bill Clinton will protect the American worker. Bill Clinton will not sign NAFTA and GATT. Third thing that he signed when he came into the presidency was what? NAFTA and GATT. Now, don't forget Al Gore, and all the others. There was a series of signings. You might recall that one of them was out at the Grand Canyon. This is 30 years ago, people. Come on, think about it. 30 years ago, a little less than 30 years ago. But it's long enough back that, they had all these special symbolic signings leading up to Bill Clinton. Who told you? Well, vote for Bill Clinton is a vote against NAFTA. Bill Clinton will stop NAFTA dead in its end. He signed it. So, yeah, Bill Clinton did sign NAFTA and GATT. But the architect, a long-standing architect of this whole scam, in conjunction with Henry Kissinger, there was Marble Mouth Henry Kissinger, okay, along with Zbigniew Brzezinski, that shyster from the Ukraine. Yeah, same turds that are over there screwing the Ukraine now. Yeah, made sure the Jewish mob got in there, ripped all the gold right out of the Ukraine. As soon as they plopped their sorry feces bird butt in there, all the cash, real hard cash, was gone, and they've been stealing ever since. And, of course, it's a great mishkal because they get to dump American dollars in there, and they're just gone. They get stolen faster than they were when the other characters were in charge. Doesn't make any difference which batch the Jewish mob got in there. It was like rape, kill, pillage, and burn. The sky's the limit. And they started a war on top of everything else, intentionally, where they were going to rape, kill, pillage, and burn more people. But they didn't. The militia kind of slowed them down there, and so the world is very different from the big picture that they had. Although they're still getting what they want done. They're killing Ukrainians. Both sides. Ukrainians on both sides are dying because of the Jewish mob pushing that garbage there. Same thing here. That's what they're moving towards right now. what's cute about this is, again, good old, of course, we know about the Biden thing now, or at least now they're flapping their yap about it. I mean, didn't we not know about this 2 years ago? Yes. Did we know about this 3 years ago? Yes. Did we know about this 4 years ago? Yes. Did anybody really talk about it? Oh, no, they were told to shut their face. But now all of a sudden it's out there in the open. Now that's one thing that's been happening the last couple of days. That, well, look at the pickle, smoke, and mirrors and BS they're throwing out there to make it very urgent. It's very urgent now. It's very urgent. But wait, it was really like all common secondhand knowledge for all of us. Okay? So anyway, good old Bill signed all that into play. But if you listen to all the drivel right now, it was Bill Clinton, it was Bill Clinton. No. George Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush, the spook and kook, was first into China before Nixon. In fact, really first into China kind of predated Henry Kissinger by what? How many months? There was a special commerce entourage that went to China. Now, then there was the negotiating entourage, which included Kissinger that went to China, and then there was the official, only Richard Nixon could go to China. Remember that Spock thing? They always throw that in there to piss in your face about that. They laugh their ass off about that, by the way. The Jewish mob does, because the Jewish mob runs communist China. So the Jewish mob, who's manipulating everybody here, gets to everybody wipe their weenie in your face from both directions. Anyway, only Richard Nixon could go to China. Yeah, good old Henry Kissinger. Okay, so anyway, George was there first, and George set himself up for all the business and all the war contracts and all the other fun stuff to also steal technology from the U.S. and hand it over to the communist Chinese to make a bigger enemy. Just that simple. So all of that was done, and more. Don't worry, and more, as they say. So, where are we right now? Well, we got a couple of things going on. How many of you people saw the New York Times piece about, how they're going to settle the election, how the the Jew York Times is telling you they should settle the election if there's some kind of BS tie. Now, I'm going to ask you, does anybody out there truly believe that there's a 50-50 split in this country? First of all, there aren't as many queers and leftists as they'd like to make you believe. But let's ask ourselves, this question, how many times for how many elections now? It's 49, it's 48 to 51, or 50 and a half, or,
which is all garbage and nonsense.
It's all drivel, okay? Absolute drivel. So now we're going to use that. Now the communists, are now saying that if we have a tie here, that they want the U.S. Wait a minute. Whoa, back up here. Let's think about something for a minute. I want you to do a search of Mark Kornke, my name. See how many hits you get right off the bat. I also want to punch in Patriot Movement or punch in militia. See how many hits you get. Now, you're going to be able to see all the New York Times postings, and I want you to go through all those Jew York Times postings, and I want you to read how many times, and they think that somebody wants to bring the UN into the United States. That's just crazy patriot mythology. That's crazy conspiracy theory. Well, because it's not theory, it's actually a conspiracy and facts, okay? But it's a criminal conspiracy. Let's add the rest of what's supposed to be there. When you talk about a conspiracy, this is a criminal conspiracy. See, that's the part you have to leave out, because otherwise your brain is properly oriented to what we're talking about. This is a criminal conspiracy, but it's right out in the open. They're flapping their yap in all of these media sources that they own to prime the pump for the next level of absolute betrayal of the sovereignty of the United States. And the only thing that should happen to them is you drag their sorry ass out, put them up against the wall, and shoot their ass. Or, if they're in good old New York, take their ass up to a high floor, chuck them out a window, and just put the dumpsters all down below. Gravity sucks, and it's pretty straightforward. It's 90 degrees down. Oh, he hit the edge of both of those dumpsters. Half of him's over there, half of him's over there. Good shot, Bob. Hold on, try that one again. Did you notice where you threw that one? Throw the next one out that way. Wait. There we go. Good shot.
Mark, for those who are in the hinterlands, a local unused quarry would be very sufficient.
Yeah, it's got to be a stone quarry, though. We don't want to be too soft down below. You know.
No, when it's half full, then you just bulldoze dirt it over the top, and you.
No rubble.
For the next 20
Actually,
years.
I think no. Don't bury them that way. Actually, just leave the chunks of stone down below, big, small, little, and you got a D12 or bigger. You just push it sideways, and the stones kind of work like a perforating meat grinder. So you shovel them that way. The crows come in. Small animals feast.
But the flies.
Well, the small creature, the bugs. Well, there's other bugs.
Yeah, they have to eat too, right?
They gotta eat too. Flies gotta eat, same as the worms. Remember, paraphrasing Josie Wales, we might not have enough vultures to go around. So anyway, right now, as we speak, they've made their public face known about what they believe the agenda, which, by the way, for how many years we have patiently listened to their lies. Oh, that's just crazy, just conspiracy. Now, there's no UN intervention plan in the. And by the way, here in the the New York Times, the big plan for UN intervention in the United States. Yeah. Well, like I said, we're going to treat them just the way we plan on treating them. And anybody riding with the UN is going to go just like the UN. Does everybody understand that? Because we already have a policy on that one, well established. Everybody knows what's going to happen. So, and don't forget, strip the enemy dead. Don't just throw them off the edge there. Strip the enemy dead of everything. Make sure you got everything that they might be trying to hide. And then do the party, whatever you're going to do. I can't be there to stop you, and do I even sound like I'm concerned to? I am not. Okay, that game, long gone, as far as that goes. We're finished with that one. Another thing here real quick. I want to do this before we go any farther. I'm always trying to point everybody towards solutions. There's a couple of things right now that are available. I know everybody's been asking me about helmets. There's two directions you can go. Well, there's three. There's actually, it's probably about as infinite as helmets are out there, okay? But let's go to the three basics real quick. I had about 6 or 7 questions because one group, about 20 people, are looking for helmets. Okay. First of all, what are you trying to do? Stop bullets or just keep your head from getting beat in? Now, in addition, it's what do you have for a budget? Now, if you're willing to spend a little bit, I'll go number 4. There's 4 options. Yeah, but fourth I never mentioned, okay, because it's pretty well logical. If you have the money, you're not going to worry about asking questions about where can I find. There are some great steel, modern, just recently made, what they're calling the Militia Helmet. And there are many other models, but the Militia Helmet, you'll see it tested on YouTube, and you'll see examples that other people have already picked up. Some have bought and actually tested themselves because they wanted to see whether or not what they were saying on the advertisements they did, the Advo videos, whether or not they were real. Turns out they were. So if you want to spend $300, $250 to $350, depending on which grade of helmet you want and how much side cover you want, etc., then you can pay top dollar and get a really decent piece of equipment. It will stop a lot of junk coming in at high velocity. Okay, it's been proven. And in fact, they're using the same helmet for testing, which, by the way, means multiple repeat hits, and they hold up pretty good. Okay, they really do. They are heavier. That's the one thing you better remember all this stuff that you're adding on, I got to have more armor on me. And I've warned you again, you're going to be carrying more weight. Now, that means you'll have to balance out your combat load accordingly, maybe, because some of you want to carry that, but then don't like the idea of carrying it, so you want to still balance out to what your average combat weight, measure is, depending on what you have as a standard. Now, the next level is Pass A / last generation PASGAT Kevlar helmets that are out there. a lot of the Fritz helmets are gone. There are a bunch they're freely owned by independents out there. You can go to eBay, you can go to Facebook Marketplace, wherever you want to go. I've picked up some of those helmets for as little as $5 and $10 a piece for Kevlar helmets. I think the most I paid was the one for $15 right around the corner here, and it was brand new, immaculate, got extra helmet covers with it. It's virtually unused, okay, for $15. You'll still find stuff like that. Pay attention especially to your, every night go over there and survey locally, because you never know what's going to be down the street. Now, it can be any one of the categories I'm talking about in terms of either like the Kevlar, like regular ballistic helmets, but last generation. It can be steel pots. Now, I don't have a problem with the U.S. Mark I helmet, the Vietnam back to World War II helmet used in Korea also. I got tons of them, put a bunch of them together. I personally wear one regularly if I am in the field. You've probably seen some of the pictures and videos of what I've done. Yeah, I also have Kevlar. You've seen that in the equipping videos.
Hey, Mark.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Mark, this is Fluffy. I found amongst my dad's stuff a genuine World War II Fritz helmet, it's the German helmet of World War II that he brought home from Germany. He was a rifleman on the, I don't know, what would you call the front in Germany? The European front? Anyway, he fought
European, Western front. I mean, because the Eastern front's Russian. The Western front would be with us and the Germans.
Yeah.
Now those helmets, there's several different models, but the two basic jump-offs, one has a curled rim, one has a stamped straight rim. It's basically a single forged piece of metal. The ones with a curled rim also were actually had a little more ballistic potential, strangely enough, because they were earlier made. When the Germans made a counterpart to that, or the Spanish after the war, they made one that was thicker still and actually has more rifle protection potential. For a while, those came out, and then they were just gone. Now, if you have any of those old German helmets, personally, what I do with them, I just take an American woodland camo cover, or if you all guys are all using woodland, or whatever pattern you're using, and throw that helmet cover on the helmet. No one will know the difference.
You're right.
Yeah, they won't. Seriously, they won't. 99% of people are totally unobservant, don't pay attention, and they work just fine. They're good helmets. There's nothing wrong with them. And by the way, the steel didn't go stale in the last 70 years.
Oh, I'm so glad.
It worked just fine. It's still good.
And got the Kevlar helmets I picked up locally for, I think I gave $5 at a yard sale for it, which was certainly worth that.
Oh, any helmet we see, any piss pot or any ballistic helmet of any kind, or any military helmet you see for $5, you just buy. Just grab. Number one, it'll go on someone's head. And by the way, it's nice to have stuff sitting around here and there, like on vehicles, so that in the event you're, in a vehicle, you can put more stuff to protect people from getting, thudded. It's a good idea. So, in fact, again, any of the helmets we're talking about are better than running around with your meaner naked. Now, we know we got patrol caps and we got boonie hats, but helmets are still a good thing.
Oh, boy, howdy.
I'm starting to feel bad. Am I the only person that paid $60 for a Kevlar helmet?
No, I paid $60, $55. In fact, for the longest time, although they were brand new, from one of the wholesale sources out of Louisville, he doesn't have any of them. He bought like about 28,000, 30,000 at once, and we went down and bought a big chunk of what he had. And those were, $65 a piece, but we were the first person in opening the box after they'd been sold to the federal agencies.
Oh, mine had a sweaty sweatband in it.
Yeah, now as far as sweatbands, oh darn, that one. The place where you can still find brand new sweatbands. Probably, I would try Allegheny Surplus. Number one, number two, Coleman's. And then also, I haven't gone through, but they might even have some over at Gun Parts Corp. They've got helmets, and I think they do have some sweatbands. In fact, I'm pretty sure they do. Now, the price is not really that outrageous, but though What is it? The one company is
well,
gone
people
now.
People can use the money that they're not spending on ammo to get other stuff right now.
Right. Well, if you can't get ammo, then there's all the other things that are still needed. The big thing is all the tiny items are actually pretty reasonably priced. A replacement sweatband is going to run you as little as 99 cents, which has a little leather, guys, if you don't know, it's a little goat skin leather, glove skin leather cover, and then it's a nylon strap that's adjustable, and it has the keeper clickers to lock into the webbing of the helmet. Well, for 99 cents, you can't go wrong. And I bought a bunch of them from the one company, but they apparently are out of business, or they've taken themselves offline. And they had the best price, 99 cents a piece. Now, Coleman's has had them pretty cheap, and so Gun Parts Corp may have some left. And then don't forget Major Surplus. They have stuff, but you have to look, and Maine Military. Maine Military may have some, but you're going to probably have to call the shop. They may not have it listed on the page. Call over to mainmilitary.com and talk to them, because I'll guarantee they're in the store. But none of these people have time to post everything they have in their business, guys. So one way or another, we can get them that way. Good point on that, because another thing is chin straps. Same thing. All the companies I just mentioned, you can either get the original chin strap, or you can get all these new modified rigs that they've got that go right into the same fixture on the helmet. And all of them work. Now, the new ones are supposed to create less of the weeble wobble on the head, but I would point out that that's what they claimed with the other ones that, well, when they came out with the Fritz helmet. The way they set up the webbing was supposed to prevent the weeble wobble that you always had with the M1, because people didn't know how to put the M1 helmet, the steel pot, together. The complaint about it is based on the idea that they didn't teach people how to use the helmets, kind of like they assumed everybody would, but then nobody ever was, and the ones who knew how to use it eventually left service, and the rest didn't think to do any in-depth, study of the subject, because after all, it's only a helmet. I've had people say that. Well, how complicated is that? You don't know what you're talking about. Really? How many different retainer bands are there for the back of the M1 steel helmet? What? Well, what's that? You're the Weisenheimer who doesn't have a stinking clue about the equipment, right, asshat? See, example.
Same guy that wants the $500 gas mask instead of
which is cool.
$20.
Which is cool.
Yeah. I'm going to pop up later on. I've got a decent buy on some wool blankets. They're not the U.S. military 4-pound, but they're 2 pounds. I'll come back and pop in later on.
Well, go ahead and throw it in right now. Go ahead and throw it right now, right in the middle. In fact,
Okay.
Everybody, get your pen and paper ready, because we are covering, we always cover quarter.
Well, that's what I was saying. I would give you the item number, everything. It's over at Bud K. They are two for $17.99, I think. That's why I wanted to refresh myself. I bought 4 of them. They're pretty heavy. They're really thin. They don't take up a lot of room. I have not washed them yet. They smell like they've got some anti-moth chemical stuff on them. I want to wash them out. I'm not sure how much they're going to fuzz. I want to check that out. But good price on them. I got 4 of them shipped with tax and all the other all the other BS. It was $51 for 4 of them. They feel really warm. I mean, I haven't got chemicals on them, so I don't wrap them around me yet. But I stuck my hand in, and they were pretty warm. Bud K. Again, like I said, I wanted to get all my ducks in a row and call back, give you all the information. I got to get dinner started here, though.
Very good.
Do it right now.
Appreciate it. And again, budk.com, as long as we're pointing it out, remember they do have the gas mask still, at least 1 or 2. And if you look, compare the price with where the Forshita masks went, which pretty much are gone from the system, along with several of the other, along with several of the other useful tools out there. Let me point out. One of the interesting things about it is that they do have some pretty good buys on certain items in surplus, even at Bud K. They buy from the same place everybody else does, by the way. However, most important is that they have been restocking, and for whatever reason, looks like we might not be so lucky. They may have sold out again after we mention them. Well, it doesn't take us to mention them. I should point that out. The Polish MP5 gas masks are $29.99. Now, there's Polish, apparently the Hungarians, the French have used this. This has been a NATO mask for a bit, and it's the, what they're calling is a Polish Gas Mask Mp5. Now, the Polish ones are coming in, okay? But, oh, hell, well, it's a good thing I went over here. The Polish Gas Mask Mp5 with filter, $29.99. The tan counterpart, virtually like new, $29.99. And if you go over to Sportsman's Guide or anybody else, that's an $80 mask right now. I knew they were lower, but I didn't know that they got the other one in, which they did, which means they bought it from the same source that Sportsman's Guide did. I guarantee it. They also do have a couple of other masks, including the Czech M10s in stock again, $29.99 for the Czech, and they do have the Breathe Safe respirator, same one that you see over at Maine Military, but Maine has a little better price. So just a heads up on that one too. And all of these are over at budk.com, budk.com. Just punch in gas masks. It'll show you what all they have in the inventory. But that Polish MP5 is also, a bunch of them that they thought were Polish that came in were actually French surplus. So there's a mix depending on who had what. They just assumed because they saw the picture and they got them from the same source that the source provided the same mask, but they didn't. Okay, there's some interesting stuff going there. It's not shenanigans. It's all the same basic mask. That's why, again, they're coming from the same manufacturer who contracted out to more than one company. Okay. Anyway, let me go back.
The ones that I went through, I did actually find slips of paper with Polish writing on them.
Yeah, so that's the Polish model that they're listing. Plus, they also do the Polish tan MP5 gas mask with filter, like new, military surplus. And if they made it tan, what'd they make it for? Desert Dust Part 2, the adventure continues, and operating in the Middle East. So if you guys are out west and you're looking for something to kind of match the rest of your tech for the southwestern part of the country, maybe that would be a better choice than the darker green or black masks that you might have already been, picking out or thought you were going to go to. And again, this is in the 40 millimeter filter. It has the goggle type lens. This does not have a round face lens or a single eyelets. This has a goggle type face lens. Now that's supposed to help with people who are a little worried about closed in spaces, man. And because of that, they built these this way to offer better visibility, obviously. That's the logic. So, but it creates other issues. Individual lens or optical points, only if one is damaged, you just smack a piece of duct tape over it, you can still see through it. Actually, it'd be true with any lens on your gas mask. This is another reason you should carry a small roll of duct tape in the bag for your gas mask in one of the side stations or anywhere on your person. Why? If your mask is compromised, if for some reason there was a full break through both lenses, or in this case with the one we're talking about, the MP5, it has a single body lens. Whereas, say, if I was wearing an M10M, I got an outsert and I've got the regular lens. Even if I'm wearing a lot of the other double goggle European or Russian masks, there are outserts for those. But this is the one thing I don't see with the MP5. So for everybody out there, just a consideration, Mr. Duct Tape is your friend, okay? Now, I got to go back to the beginning of what I was on, and I want to finish it about the helmets real quick, so I'm going to abbreviate first of all. The three types of helmets are in this particular pecking order. Top end would be obviously ballistic, like the Kevlars. The Mark 6 is available from Sportsman's Guide right now for about $89. Actually, I'll take that back. $90. Put a penny in there. And that's the same one that was going for as little as $60 4 months ago. Okay, but markets changed. Everybody knows we're going to war. Everybody's acting accordingly. The PASGAT helmets, the NATO PASGAT helmets, the Serbian helmets. There's a bunch of them out there, and a bunch from the northern European states. All have about the same ballistic potential, but there are some better than others. Do a little research, but they're all Kevlar. They all offer good protection. The next tier are metal helmets. Now, not all metal helmets are equal, and some are almost comparable to those new Militia steel helmets that are being offered by the industry. The Swiss, standard Alpine helmet, the M70 /71, 72 series helmet. They look kind of like the British. They don't have a rim in the front, and that's because they're mountaineering helmets, okay? Those have rifle ballistic protection potential. That's how they're listed. That's why they're really popular, and that's why they've gone up in price, because people started to realize how they were made. Some of the German post-war copies of the M1 are built just like just like the Swiss helmet, and are, again, that's why they're much heavier. People go, it's a very heavy helmet. That's because it was designed with greater ballistic potential. Then there are the shell helmets, or the steel helmets of different grades, from the Eastern European, the Russian, Northern European, all over the planet. Most of them are from the European theater, Cold War or pre-Cold War period, World War II, we just mentioned. They're good helmets. They work just fine. They work just as well as they did before. No, they're not going to stop everything. And when somebody makes a snide comment about that, nobody said they were bulletproof. But they're going to help you. Sure as hell, they're harder than your butt hanging in the breeze. A helmet on your head is going to protect you from a lot of stuff that's flying around, okay? That's what they're for. Now, the third category is the bucket helmets / bounce helmets that are out there. And that can include hockey helmets, bicycle helmets, any number of different types that are out there. Some are cool looking, some are, dorky looking, but, again, do they work? Well, for anybody, if you're out there in the middle of the night, 3 in the morning, as I've said a million times, that branch you didn't see that was right at forehead level, better that armored head hits it rather than your forehead. Stitches at least are what we're looking at, maybe worse. So for everybody, again, it's common sense. These are the 3 grades, and progressively as we work our way down from the PASGAT or the ballistic helmets, the most expensive being the top of the line present day, which aren't necessarily even that much better than the other stuff we just mentioned, but they are out there in the market, and they have, they perform within the parameters established, okay? At least they claim they do. We'll find out down the road when you've seen enough of them in the field. But the pecking order is as we've mentioned. So act accordingly. If you have the money, the Mark 6 helmet's a good helmet. Been around for a long time now. It's not long in the tooth, but it is got a lot of senior time in the field. The PASGAT helmets work too. Ignore the BS about making snide comments. Again, it's a good helmet, and the price is right. Typically under $100. But they're also people are trying to get more than 100, and they've been selling them. So that's just where it is. These things were all cheaper before, or, as people have had more of their epiphanies month after month, you've noticed the prices on a lot of stuff has crept up progressively, and the stuff that was there is gone. That's just the way it is, okay? So we can accept that. We understand how that works. Just live with it. Another thing about the helmets is maintenance or, for instance, color. That's always an issue. Subdued, obviously, but, if all else fails, you can buy cloth as needed and make your own helmet covers. Now, whether or not they're going to have anti-infrared and all the other fun stuff that we've talked about this week, not necessarily if you buy commercial cloth. On the other hand, you can also cannibalize tired or exhausted or messed up clothing that's been shredded or damaged. If you get a pile of stuff and it's military, like if you do the auctions or sales from someone, you can grab a piece of equipment that way and make a matching camo cover that's copacetic with your particular system. Take one that's the actual cover, use it as the pattern for whatever you need to do, then crank out some, break out the sewing machine. You're going to have to get motivated. Other than that, again, I just want to address it because I've had so many questions about helmets in such a short period of time. Somebody's talking about it out there somewhere, and I haven't seen all of the venues, but the discussion is valid. It's something people need to ask about. And again, the British ones, they're the, hold on here, it's the British Military Surplus Mark 6 Ballistic Combat Helmet. It's available over at Sportsman's Guide. And I better look, because they have been adding things. And you never know what they're going to actually pop in there with, because I'm hoping that we'll see some more of the regular. Oh, I see something right off the bat. Seems to, forget it. No. I'm not even going to mention it because I don't want you to take your brain and turn towards it. Remember those Nato helmets I mentioned that I told you all to buy when they were $62 a piece? Now that they're $135 a piece? What? Yeah, that's right. All you guys that bought those Nato military surplus flecked iron camel helmets, or the NATO or UN ones, and you bought them for less than $50 a little bit there, yeah, it's going to cost you almost 3 times as much to buy the same helmet right now. Just a heads up. Although you can buy a new Vism V-Star 3A Kevlar for $220. This is why, again, that British military surplus Mark VI doesn't have all the cover, but has good cover for $90, which means you can buy more helmets for less money. That's all we're looking at. This is like talking about weapons. How many people do you need to outfit? How much money do you have to spend on such a project? A lot of you are already limited. We already know what's going on, which is why I always point you towards, well, that makes more sense budget-wise. Now, in metal helmets, I'm going to repeat this one more time. No, I'm not. Well, yeah, I can. We got just enough time. If you go over to, and this is the helmet I recommend from, for a lot of people from Gun Parts Corp. I've bought quite a few of these already. In fact, I bought a whole pile of them to go along with one of the air mobile units because they need some helmets that are a little lighter weight, but they need a piss pot on their head. If you're going to get on board a rotary wing, it'd be a good idea to have a safety helmet of some kind. And for the air mobile, especially, well, again, there are solutions. Now, they do have other equipment. And any of these companies, you see something else that floats your boat, you're all excited about, and you want to ignore Mark about, you're not ignoring Mark. You've got your mission, and you're going to accomplish it. And I don't have a problem with that at all. But there are a lot of other items out there that are very useful. This one is the one I'd be recommending. Well, there's two. There's two at this particular site. Swedish M37-65 helmet, olive drab, steel, very good to excellent condition. Every one of these I've had is virtually new. They're $12.95 a piece. Again, Swedish M37-65 helmet, olive drab, steel. Very much, the silhouette is so close. If you got a bunch of Mark 6s and you got a bunch of these and a few other of the different short head helmets, as I call them, you really can't tell the difference with the helmet cover on everything. They look close enough that if you're looking for uniformity and, friend-foe thing, you're fine. They do have a Swiss M71 helmet. No, they don't. It's out of stock. Sorry. But if you want to see it, what I'm talking about, the Swiss M71 has ballistic defense capability. They were selling those for $24. They're sold out. Okay, now you can find them over at Major Surplus for, I think, $70 right now. Same helmet. But Mark, you just said they were $24. Yeah, I know. So let's ignore that one and let's go over here. If you go to page 2 of the helmets, the first one that I mentioned is on the top of the page. It's the Swedish M37-65 helmet, olive drab, steel, very good to excellent condition, $12.95. They are mostly brand new. The ones I've gotten so far, the straps don't even have any patina. Usually when they have storage, if they get a little oxidation, rust, it's usually right around the little working edges, and usually you can see where stuff's been worked. Doesn't exist. These things are in very nice shape. The other one, though, is the police ride helmet, light duty, excellent condition, $12.50. Now, again, this is a straightforward brain bucket model helmet, apparently blue. The ones I've had, one was really darker blue. The other one's like a medium blue. They can be painted or just a real quick helmet cover put over top everything. Eliminates a multitude of evil sin in color. But for $12.50, if you were looking for a polymer instead of a metal, and you wanted a basic like a bike helmet, this is, again, a lot more than just a bike helmet, as in bicycle helmet. And it has obviously seen service, and this is over at gunpartscorp.com, gunpartscorp.com, gunpartscorp.com. And when you get there, military surplus, and then from there you go to the subcategory in military surplus, which is military helmets and liners. The piss pot they show, the USM one, I don't think they have that, not in stock. They've got another picture of it. But so Somebody's asking about the Bulgarian M51. It's a good helmet. It is. I've got 6 of them sitting outside. I just pulled out of storage. I'm sending over to another unit. But again, personally, you get 2 of the Swedish Model 37s for the price of 1 of the other. It's a better choice. Simply because, again, you're looking for something to, a beaner bouncer. It's going to do what it's supposed to do. The Swedish don't make junk. I've used these for many years. I've used the Model 29 more than I've used the Model 37. I like the 29 for the shape. The 37 I like also, again, but it's a matter of flavor choice for personal. Whatever you guys choose, you figure it out. If you don't like anything I'm saying, congratulations. I can't bend your arm in any way. But I will make recommendations for those who are limited. This is a good way to put more armor on people. If you've got family members, you buy a pile of these helmets, put them all over the place, you got them. Okay. Like I said, I moved a bunch of them over to the air unit, the air mobile, and I'm working hard. We're going to double up the strength of our aircraft, if not triple. We've got sponsors. The sponsors are ready to move with cash. Everybody's in hard play now on this. So working on the mech, working on air, and obviously always supply and support, which is what you guys, this is where rubber meets the road, infantry. But your mech and your support units need all of this too. That's why I'm saying is for a support unit, the $12.50 Swedish helmet means you got a helmet. And everybody's got the same model of helmets. You're all consistent with pattern and model, and it helps to, dress up the unit, esprit de corps. You want to look the same. You don't want to hodgepodge if you can help it. I'll use anything that's out there. You should have noticed that by now. But when you're building a unit up, heraldry is part of the whole process of building up motivated forces. So try to square yourself away. Be strapped. That's the job of the team leaders and everybody, to get everybody motivated to be proud, pride in performance, proud in their unit. And that means squared away. Now, it doesn't mean we're not worried about inspections. That doesn't work for us. We're not going to restrict you in whatever it is you're going to be using. But let me remind you that, hey, it's part of motivating other people, maybe wanting to join, because you actually look like you know what you're doing and you're pretty interesting to look at. Pretty cool looking. Not super critical, but you know how it works. Anyway, other items, if you go over to Gun Parts Corp, go through there, look to see if there's anything else you can use. I know a lot of you guys have been looking for bullet bag, brass bags for equipment. There's a bunch of stuff over there that might be useful for some of you mech heads, especially since there's a bunch of heavy stuff there. In fact, what did I see here? Well, actually, there are some barrels in there again, but this stuff comes and goes, so you never know when it's going to be there and gone. So your best bet is go check it out. It'll tell you if it's in stock, and whatever your interest is, go through page by page. Go patiently and diligently, because you never know what you're going to run into. They're very eclectic over at Gun Parts Corp. Okay, I mean, it's just from one minute to the next. A lot of you guys are looking for RPG covers, or, I got to mention that. Okay. Over at, if you go over to Gun Parts Corp, they have, anti-tank mines, flares, and military flare guns and flares, rockets and grenades. They have RPG-7 sights. And so if you're looking for and want to understand better what we're talking about, go look at their rockets and grenades section and take a look at the RPG-7 sighting systems that they have there. And there's 3 or 4 options. More gobbledygook is what basically you get, all the other goodies. I'm gonna break your heart because, well, no, maybe not. You don't care. But the PGO-7V, that's the headrest model for the optical sight. I was buying those with the pouches, everything you see there, plus the manuals and a few other goodies, for a whopping $5.25 when those things came in wholesale originally. Okay? Just a heads up. Yeah, I see what the price is now. And in fact, there's where I'm tempted to put them back out on the market, because it's optics. Okay, somebody's going to need those optics. And hey, I can undercut the price they're offering there. I can, and still be very happy, since they paid about $5.50 for them. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, we are at the top. Let's hold on a second, caller. Let's do. Go ahead.
That's a section that I think we all would like to see more, rockets and grenades.
Well, for training purposes, that's what all these are, trainers. None of this is active, but if you do take a look, remember, use this as a classroom of instruction when you look at images. What does that do? This is how you will see the item in the field. Not fully assembled, not out of the can. You're going to see things the way you see when these boxes are opened. You see how things are stored. See how stuff is in two-part munitions or disassembled and, some assembly required. Okay, that is true even of grenades. Not all grenades, in fact, most, do not come assembled. Most people don't know that, okay? It's like you get a box of goodies here, you get a smaller box of goodies there, and then you assemble them. God bless our republic.
Death to the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The empire is on the run.
Yeah, we are on the march day and night.
Hoorah. Kingdom of Slats, beat them down hard. Don't want to get back up. Guys, we'll be back in a few minutes. Second hour coming up. It is Thursday on Liberty Tree Radio.
Shine on the old Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the piper boys, we were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper boys beneath the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys. Always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys. Fight for the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys. Stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys. High on the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys. It will be as strong as we. We must cling to our faith, boys. Faith in the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you to always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. Permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate. Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn. And your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Kernke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, Southwest, East, Northeast, and Central. Ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, via live stream, maybe not, we'll see what happens, and also Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, all reflectors, including AM and FM micro stations, AM and FM conventional stations, CB base stations, and separate and independent from all of the Internet, Ultranet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in Lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying two states, territories, and the clock. And needless to say, it is 6:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Thursday. It is the 15th of October. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K, 2020, Old Earth calendar. 2020, year of conflict, battle for the Republic, dance of swords. Congratulations. Here we go. Anyway, a couple things we were talking about when we got to the end of the last hour having to do with gunpartscorp.com. A lot of interesting sections there, but also go through their clearance and closeouts They have some really good prices on certain items. If you are an M1A operator, they have the Winter Trigger, which I recommend all of you buy for only like $3-4. And it is regular. It's a military production model. Most people aren't familiar with it, but it's what's called a Mitten Trigger. Most of you may have seen it, or well, if you're raised with the M14. I was raised with the M14. In the late 70s, we had, with the M14s that we were using, we had the entire kit, which included what's called a winterization kit. And that included a number of different smaller tools that were really handy, or fixtures that were supposed to be added to protect the sights. Most of those never used that I know of. However, they did come in handy if you were in sub-zero weather. That's what their purpose was. And the other part of this was the Mitten Trigger. Basically, it fits on the trigger fixture itself, the actual trigger guard. And it is a toggle, and it sits outside of the trigger guard itself, basically behind the trigger guard, and you grip the rifle the way you normally would, but instead of your finger trying to use that trigger finger mitten that you actually typically had, the Model 4951, instead, the idea behind this is that you just left your hand in the mitten, and what you did is squeeze the stock with the base of your, with your index and your, middle finger as needed, and pew, pew, pew. And it was a good idea. I've actually used it in extreme cold weather operations, and it was serviceable.
Hey,
so, and we got Edward there. Go ahead, Ed.
I know this is kind of going to be a little off subject, but Shelley just got home. She turned on the news. And they just did a piece about the FBI, talking about how secure mail-in ballots are, and we don't have any history of, vote fraud for the past 18 years, blah, blah, blah. And then they went and, but look out for this vote scam by phone. Warning from the FBI in the same block where they just said, there's no such thing as vote scam. That's all BS. It's perfectly safe. But look out for this scam.
Well, wait a minute, but you just told me, Norman, coordinate.
Yeah,
Beep,
it was
beep,
literally
beep, beep.
in the same block. It's like
You're hurting my brain.
Telling me that it's perfectly fine, that it's safe, that you don't have to worry about it, and then in the next breath telling you, but there is this scam.
Let me ask everybody something. Does anybody trust if the FBI is coming out and lying to you, which means also the Jewish mob is running all of these networks, okay? So the FBI is coming out and telling you, just go ahead and be stupid and believe the mail vote. Believe it. It's good for you. Does anybody believe them at all? Of all the people to come up, and I want you all to think about this, we've got a pre-vote propaganda campaign. How can those jackasses know anything about what's going on in the minds of any number of evil people out there with regard to voter fraud? This is like Antifa. Well, Antifa's just a thought. It's not really burning down the country. Antifa and, BLM and kill all the white people. They're not burning down the country. This is exactly the same as the skank FBI, along with their military component, the military whores that came in and helped them out. This is not an attack. This is not an attack. This is not. When were they saying that, guys? That was the FBI. That was the same liars. That was when they were driving armored vehicles through the walls of the Branch Davidian church and home. Do you see something here in the way of a pattern? There is no voter fraud. You need to shut your brain off. You need to shut your brain off. You need to shut your brain off. Shut your brain off. Is that Russian? Shut your brain off. I think it is. Shut your brain off. That's what it is. Yeah, it's Russian. I forgot. They were just kind of sluggish. Pronunciation's always terrible when you're looking at talking heads with shoe-size IQs. I guess I got it wrong. No, I didn't. Not at all. No, the election is dead. And in fact, the fact that they're banging the gong, that the FBI is coming out while the election is dead and the voter fraud is being committed by all of these rotten turds. And it's like I told you guys, how can you tell when they're lying? It's when their mouth's moving. So let's see, we had this propaganda piece where they attack a militia group in Michigan, and in the process, of course, tell you all about how, evil, right wing, blah, 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 which, of course, then everybody's arguing, no, they're lying, these guys were something else. Okay, well, here's first rule. It's the FBI. They're lying. Okay, so if the FBI comes up on the news and tells you, you don't need to worry about voter fraud, just shut your brain off and go stupid. The stupid, it burns. Go ahead, caller, jump in there.
Shelby from Oklahoma City. I had posted something on October 7th in Discord. It was actually from the FBI website, Safeguarding Your Vote, a joint message on election security, which included the FBI, the NSA, and Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and National Counterintelligence and Security Center discuss their agency's commitment to protect the integrity of the 2020 election.
Wait a minute, hold on.
So they actually put out an official statement just last week.
Well, let me do it this way. First of all, these are all people that aren't supposed to have anything to do, per se, with the election. I'm hearing more noise from people who are telling you that there's not going to be any voter fraud than I am from the people who are supposed to be counting the votes. You're hearing more from, or for that matter, the people who should be concerned. Isn't it amazing? Let me point something out about, this is the rule. They will protect the racket first. The Republican rats should be shouting from the rooftops about this voter fraud. But instead, their lodge buddies and the rabbis have told them to sit your ass down. Anybody notice this? You have flagrant, I mean flat out, there is no doubt voter fraud going on right now. And they're telling you that you all have to go into brain stupid. Now, I guess I would say this. If they look at the population of dog muzzle wearers, especially the ones who have bought the really, like special dog muzzles because they feel they have to be stylish, they figure they've got them bought in for the long haul, then they figure maybe that they're so stinking stupid they'll believe anything. Has anybody ever thought about that? But this whole thing, I mean, I'm watching, there's example real quick, and I'm not changing the subject, but let's not forget that whole dog and pony show has been going on over on the other side of the state. Today is the 15th. Yesterday, let's see, and in fact, hopefully we can get Dave linked up. I'm pretty sure he is, but I want to make sure we've got all the other connects. These are other townships. I know that there's hundreds and hundreds of township members, people. Hundreds, okay? We have many townships, and we have many more townships than we have counties in Michigan, and all the other states are in the same boat. At the township level, as I told you, we basically have the country right now. We have Michigan is ours, okay? The counties, Michigan is ours, and there's two elements. The ones who are being probed, and they're basically, I told them, like I've said it to everybody, do the old Queen Elizabeth executive wave when the asshats show up to ask questions. Get your arm up there parallel with your shoulder, bend your arm 90 degrees, and do that little flippy wave thing with your wrists. You know how the Queen does. Yes, there's a peasant over there. Oh yes, because your arms get tired otherwise. And give them that wave thing. In other words, baffle them with BS and just why they're your enemy. How do you treat your enemy when they show up? How do you treat your enemy when they show up? How do you treat the Fed enemy when they show up? How do you treat the rest of these characters when they show up? Well, they're your enemy. You figure it out. So anyway, Edward, if you would, and I don't know if Ed's right there, Georgetown Township trustee defends men charged in plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer, Fox 17, 101320. It is a YouTube video. It's posted on the Catherine Henry channel. And if you get a chance, now remember it's going to be anti. They're doing the only thing that these mouthpieces, and this is Fox, F-A-U-X 17. That's run by the Jewish mob just like the rest. We all know that. They're just a fake, and they're being less and less, they are going to be sounding like anything other than the rest of the rank and file commies because they feel they don't need to have one fake station up anymore. The other 25, 30, 50, or 100 commie stations are all frothing at the mouth and doing whatever. they have to have one fake opposition to make you believe somehow something's going different. Well, if you know what's going on, the management is intentionally being moneyed out, and the other management moving in are all hyper-leftists from the same gang of thieves. Not that the other one might have been any better anyway, but now they're starting to show their red and yellow Soviet colors, and so that's something that we need to be paying attention to. Anyway, I'll tell you what, I don't get a confirmation if we have Ed there. Do we have Ed there before I do anything else? Because I can do this myself. And so...
There we go. I'm here, but I'm a little distracted, Dad. I am kind of fighting the system here.
Okay, you go ahead and do what you're doing. I think I can get this to run here without any problem, and I think it'll be clear enough. So, again, let me give out the location. The video is Georgetown Township Trustee defends men charged in plot to kidnap Gov. Widmer / Greta Bruce Jenner. Fox
posted in Discord, Mark.
Very good. And it's also over in the Discord, guys. If you go over there real quick and you're listening, you can watch it that way. So share that out. But understand, this woman they interviewed her, so you know they chopped her interview up. They cobbled it. It's the Homer Simpson and the gummy Venus de Milo thing. Stuck to her butt, I had to have it. Remember the clock in the background is bouncing all over the place because they chopped it up. They did the same thing with this woman's interview, and it still got the point across, which is most important. She stayed focused, and she stayed focused, and she stayed focused. So, anyway, I'm going to play it here. It is 3 minutes, 10 seconds long. It's from Fox, FOX 17, West Michigan. And, with a button pay for a horse. Here we go.
A candidate for Georgetown Township trustee says that she respects and is proud to have shared the stage at rallies this year with two of the men charged in the plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer.
Marisa Overlay joining us live from the newsroom after talking with her this evening. Marisa?
Yeah, Derek Dennis, Catherine Henry first made those remarks at a Second Amendment candidate forum this past weekend in Fowlerville, but reiterated her stance in an interview with me today. Are you proud to have stood on stage with the Knoll brothers at rallies throughout the summer? Do you respect them? And if so, can you explain why?
Absolutely. These two guys, as well as countless other different militia members all across the state, they have stood up in volunteering their time to keep people like me safe.
Georgetown Township trustee candidate Catherine Henry standing by William and Michael Knoll Tuesday. The Republican hopeful defending the two West Michigan brothers charged with providing support for terroristic acts and felony weapons charges in connection with an alleged plot to kidnap the governor.
These guys are kind, they're caring, they are advocates for the Constitution.
Henry says she met the two at rallies across the state throughout the summer, like this one in Grand Rapids in May, explaining they provided protection to her and other speakers at the events.
Every single time I've seen these two particular guys, I can breathe a sigh of relief that they're there to, help keep things on the up and up and to provide a defensive kind of protection if necessary.
Henry questions the charges brought forth last week, saying the brothers never spoke about anything questionable around her, adding the alleged attack never happened.
These guys didn't do it, at least the two that I know of. Their only crimes were literally being members of a militia and owning a lot of firearms.
She instead places the blame on elected leaders in the state and others who condemned the men's actions.
What they are doing is essentially assuming that these guys are guilty until proven innocent. We have a duty to uphold the Constitution. That means that presumption of innocence. That means the due process of law elements.
Do you understand why people may be speaking out and condemning, this violence that they were allegedly planning about?
No, I think that's stupidity. I think that's blind, ignorant stupidity.
Henry saying as a constitutional lawyer, it's her job to ensure the rights protected in it.
People are up in arms over the potential violence or alleged potential violence. Where are all the people upset and up in arms that our constitutionally protected liberties are being tossed out the window?
Now, like mentioned, Henry is running for an elected position in Georgetown Township this year. She is one of 6 people vying for 4 trustee positions. When asked if she thinks her stance would impact her race, Henry told me if someone doesn't like the Constitution, they should not vote for her, and that is okay. I'm reporting live in the newsroom. Marisa Oberle, Fox 17 News.
Now, here's what's always fun about these. I think the woman was talking, wasn't she? You heard that. Did you notice how they faded out her voice, and you have the drivel from the talking head from the station telling you what the person said? Why do I need a third party or a second party? And it'll get worse whenever they do the next attack piece. You won't even hear her voice. It'll be this little kosher piece of trash flapping its yap for the queer agenda, and it'll all be voiceover and nothing but derogatory. Nonstop. This is the garbage you will see over and over and over again with all of these controlled media operations. Well, we're going to tell you what he or she said. Why? Didn't this person speak to you? Well, yeah. Aren't you showing me that this person was answering? Well, yeah. Well, then why are you cutting her off and telling me, trying to express, what you're interpreting, she said, when I can watch the individual and I can decide whether or not I like what she said? Well, of course, that's the problem. The idea is to make you go, and she said this, and I don't like it. I don't like it, and you shouldn't like it either because you all should be a bunch of sheep and lemming. And you'll notice that this is consistent for the controlled media flap nonstop. This is, over ad nauseum, but it's really sloppy and really crude now. It's interesting how degraded, this is everything. Communist News Network is really gone what is like the equivalent to a third-rate China Sport bargain basement network. The same is true with all the rest of these. There is a general lack of quality, not just in image, but in performance. And it's been repeating itself over and over again. We're not a big operation at our end, okay? So you're going to have glitching. You're going to also, the other side's going to do whatever they can to muck with everything. Plus the system itself is failing for the very reason I'm mentioning. And it's going to get worse day by day, week by week, month by month. In fact, it's coming up to the wall here pretty soon. But when you watch a lot of these, look at the lack of, like the woman that's in here, obviously she's probably queer as a $3 bill, and or either that or a hyper, feminist / fill in blank. She looks like she's wearing a basket, okay? It's like they had to try and dress up, the silk purse sow's ear routine. You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. Well, I don't know, you can polish it up pretty good, and, leather works, dude. But anyway, still, in this case, if you watch the character and some of the other images, she doesn't do anything like this. So it's bare minimum with no quality. And this is because, and this is where they actually have money to do something. And so just a little heads up. We can do just as well, if not better, and we need to really make the effort to do so, because we can actually hook the eye and the ear if we do it right, guys. But y'all, I need your help. Everybody, we need you to help pitch in with Libertytreeradio however you can. It does make a difference. And again, we want to thank everybody for all the help that we have had and the response we've had to supporting LTR through some of the things we've done recently. Another thing real quick on this is don't forget we've got another sheriff also that was doing similar, work as far as response goes. And if you haven't seen any of that, take the time and, again, you can go over to our Facebook for myself. That's one place you can go. And if you go over to my scroll on Mark Hornke on on that page, that channel, whatever you want to call it, Farcebook, there's a couple of different postings that have, popped up there just so that you'd have the ammunition. And if you're listening, please, if you could, take the time, share those to virtually every friend on your page until it's dead, until Farcebook is gone. When Farcebook is gone, I'm not going to cry about it. It's like, I would point out that, for instance, Dave and Tina Stone and all the Stone family and Hotari, anything having to do with Hotari or anything they could try to throw a dart at, they pulled off of Farcebook. So they're not there now. That's expected, okay? We've been kind of warning everybody, and of course it did, it happened out of the blue. Well, no, it really just happened as we expected. The dart hit where the dart hit. With Farcebook, for everybody, use it as long as you can use it. pull whatever you can that's useful. Somebody might have sent you off it. Go over to MeWe, go over to Dig Dug, Bung Dung, Pinterest. I mean, there's a million other sites you can go to. MeWe would be good because a lot of people do it that way, and it works. And go ahead. We got Tom there. Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, my account was disabled way before the Stones was. So, yeah, they are starting to delete people's accounts off Facebook.
Right, and like I said, for as long as you can, here's what you need to do is, for everybody who's doing it, post your other, go to MeWe now, create links. I'm going to point something out that I've done for as long as I've been on any of these social media. If you'll notice, when I do a posting for one of them, I always, with every posting, list Libertytreeradio. So that no matter what, one way or another, everybody gets to go in, and, you've got the connective link where if you pay attention, if you've written it down or saved it off to the side, you're going to be able to come over here and find out where next might be the best location to go with regard to social media or whatever. And of course, we do have Libertytreeradio itself. It's an operating mechanism. And I would point out that, again, not going to be any surprise for us. This is a big we told you so. It's kind of like I said today, first hour. New York Times is yapping about if there's going to be a tie. A tie. Why would there be a tie? Well, if there's going to be a tie, that they want to bring the UN in to settle everything, don't you know? Well, the UN can piss off. Anybody that proposes it can piss off. They need to be, whoever proposes the UN coming into the U.S. for that needs to be walked over to a wall and executed. I won't hesitate to say that to anyone.
Mark, there's no way it could be a tie. There's no way.
No. In fact, it's insane to begin with. But here's the thing. For decades now, guys, and I've mentioned this a million times on this program, for as long as I've been on the air, because to me it's like it's just not possible. But we've also seen horrific voter fraud in every presidential election for the last 6. But when you have a county like in Pennsylvania or a county or a township in Ohio, and supposedly 100% of the people voted for the communist, okay, whichever communist it was. But in this case, let's say like when Obama was running, that 110% of the people voted for Obama. Well, anybody believe that? You're telling me that out of let's say 100 people, there isn't one person voting for the other guy, and it's both ways. Okay, if it was supposedly whatever the twit was that was the Republican running versus the Democrat, the Republican versus a Democrat. One way or another, people, yet some places you are going to have like 89 or 90% or 75% voting in a particular direction. But it's a matter of demographically how small the group is. The smaller the cut, let's say a small town, a dot on the map, a township, a district, the smaller it is, the more likely you're going to see a more detailed evaluation of how the vote fell, which is what it should be, because in some places it's going to be just the opposite, and in a few places, very few, you might see a close quarter. But we've had that with every stinking vote for years now, and it's all BS. It's absolute BS. You cannot tell me that they're realistically, now they're just so flagrant about it, and the level of voter fraud is so horrific, there is no way that I believe any of their numbers, but we've already told everybody we don't. How did Trump get in there? They realized at the last minute their ass was going to get shot. If Hillary the Hutt had gone in there, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We wouldn't have had any conversation like it for 4 years. We'd been at war by January of that year, just after the vote. Okay, it's that simple. That's why they had to dump Trump in there. And Hillary was upset for a reason. In all of their circles, in all of their meetings, they told her, Bewitch, you are in. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. The Bewitch is going to be in. She's going to be in. Would it be? She's going to be in. I don't care if it was a Rockefeller or whatever. They were coming up, swapping spit, hugging her, squeezing her butt. Yeah, you're going to be the prez. That's why you see the way she acted. That's why the witch didn't even show up. Let's go back 4 years. That's why the witch didn't even show up to say thank you to all the people who spent all that time pumping her name all over the place. And you don't do that. In fact, for everybody, other than the fact that she was having a horrible tantrum, and the argument is, yeah, she was drunked up. Finally, they doped her out to put her out. I don't doubt that, because she is a monster. And
she just showed what kind of contempt she had for the people that actually sacrificed for her.
Yeah, well, they're peons. They're peons, don't you know? Oh, why should I worry about them? Yes, yes, yes. Now, remember, they were all waiting, too. It didn't make any difference. In fact, here's the thing, as far as her showing up not really happy or whatever, they wouldn't have cared as long as she showed up because they were worshiping her. And it was so bad. I want you to think about it. She was so wicked, so frothing at the mouth, so insanely crazy, they couldn't bring her out in front of everybody. That's the reality of what you're facing and the kind of nutcases you've had in these positions of power. Everybody goes, are all the people in government pedos? Yeah, I figure a big chunk of them are. It's like the FBI doing these, coming on the news and telling everybody, oh, you don't have to worry about voter fraud. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as the Italian mafia. I'm telling you, the FBI knows. The FBI will tell you there is no such thing as it. Does anybody remember that? They used to rub that in all the time. Well, but you got to remember, the FBI has become Sovietized enough they don't want to remind everybody about some of the deeds they've done. Do they now? Anybody remember? I do. I remember all the propaganda wave after. Now, granted, the people that are the face muzzle, dog muzzle wearers that we got out there, yeah, the way I'm looking at them nowadays, they are such shallow, dim-wit fools that really, I don't think they do. I think they barely can remember breakfast, let alone, and I'm serious about a lot of them. I think we have a chunk of the population that has no business voting, and they have no business being anywhere near any decision process that we were allowing to happen. But in the past, if you're so mentally incapacitated, you have to have layers of drugs in order for you to continue to function in society. You have no business making any decisions over me.
Mark, I'm concerned about some of them driving.
Yeah, and we still have them driving. Well, but that's a programming thing. That's really kind of there. That's in the subconscious. There's so many things going on with the conscious and subconscious mind with memorized regimental activities that the driving thing, they can, they can do that probably. I mean, they can. They are kind of. Our survivability may be up for grabs on that one even. But the fact of the matter is that, again, we're looking at a situation that it's done. Okay, we're finished. The voter fraud and the fact that they're bleeding it the way they are, they're coming out and bleeding on the news services about that. How could you even make that boast? You don't have any clue how many criminals you're going to be having to, catch that are involved with this kind of, especially with the emotion and drama created by the Republicans and the Democrats in their own camps. How can you honestly turn in any way? Well, you know why? It's obviously a lie. But then again, it's the FBI, and they lie. So what's the surprise? Ignore the FBI, they're BSers. Now, remember, they're violent, evil, wicked, satanic Kabbalists, but they're still BSers. Just that simple. Another thing real quick on this with regard to, before I forget, I get over here one more thing. Vote early. Oh, my ass. My hind end. Vote early. Every aspect of, here's how it works. Is the vote important or not important? If the vote is important, then how important is it? I mean, we're supposed to set a date, but this is an example of all of society, our society especially, which is why it's collapsing the way that it is. We establish a date for a critical activity. It is a participant activity. It is volunteer, though. You can opt out not to participate in the activity. But it does this is because of the nature of the activity too. It's a life-changing event that you are participating in theory. I don't care about all the other garbage, guys. We're going with the veneer. Okay, let's go with the veneer. With all the lies that they perpetrate about this, that it's important. Well, it is important. If the vote really were serious, it would probably be illegal, and we'd be shot for trying to vote. the fact that they're doing what they're doing the way they're doing, and in fact, the way they're carrying on. We're having a vote in each state that's lasting about a month and a half, and mostly because we have lazy-ass people or cowards and spineless curs who barely can handle being anywhere near another Michigander or another Floridian, because it becomes so neurotic and they're such hypochondriacs with paranoid tendencies that they're all bug-eyed and terrified that they'll have to deal with life. You know, do you think this isn't? We're not even talking about conflict here in theory, although we know that there is. You might recall that we had blacks out there threatening to kill people, club people's heads in if they went in to vote, because the blacks, remember, they were at the polling places, thought that you were going to vote for, well, wait a minute, like Donald Trump 4 years ago. Anybody remember that? Now that was risk. And yet everybody made a point, and they were going to be there that day, and they were going to be there on time. Now all of a sudden, we can do it over a month and a half. You're a lazy bunch of bastards who barely have your brains on, brain or head screwed on. And so, the last 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 2 or 3 days or 5, maybe a week after we have the official date, we'll still be doing voting thingy. This is why, with mush like this country, if we let the idiot sticks proceed, then, and they will try, in any category, Republican or Democrat, then this country is sunk. It's finished, and in fact, it is finished as far as that goes, because the way they're doing it doesn't work. It isn't going to work. It's wrong, and everybody knows it's wrong. I had one person tell me, well, yeah, I'm going to do the paper ballot. Maybe I'll get more than one because I won't have to stand in line 6 feet from somebody when it's cold outside in November. And it's like, yeah, well, again, if I look at the character, it's like, yep, he's probably got that kind of brain. But the fact that you're even like sitting there like a toady blob and bragging that, in other words, yeah, I'm a lazy bastard and an asshat, but, I think we should, I like doing this because, I'm really, I'm getting over on you. Really. Like I've said, and I will repeat this, you do realize if all of you embrace an American management system in our American form, you realize we roll right over these characters on all sides so fast to make your head swim. In fact, the other side does think that that's what they're going to do, but only with an authoritarian mechanism, in the same way that everybody will be so baffled with BS, so spineless, and such curs like the ones they see that they're using for their litmus, that they'll get away with anything. On the other hand, if you guys fight with a purpose and you actually pay attention and you stay focused and we use an American management system, one person makes the decision. Remember there's an old term, lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. I'll slow that down. Lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. But do something. You see how that works? Look at the mush that we have now in this population. Look at the mush that you have that must be loaded between people's ears. You can't tell me they got a brain. And they're not well educated, and they are not smarter than you. And in fact, everything they've tried to pump, I look down on all these curs now. I'm really tired of this idea. Well, we're so smart. Who told you were smarter? Was the person lying to you? First of all, you guys pretty well in the Patriot effort are ahead above almost everything you're seeing out there on the street right now. That's a fact. And again, I don't know what's going to fix it. In most cases, again, it's not that it's the majority. Business activity is actually down. Has anybody paid attention to this one? Business activity is down everywhere. Let me give you an example. Maynard's, okay? Because a lot of people say, I'm never going to shop at Maynard's again. Some of you guys listening out there have already said that, okay, privately or publicly, to me. And I understand. Well, you know what? A lot of the people feel the same way. The zombies who are going through the motion of shopping are still out there. but the numbers aren't there. Let me give you an example about Menards. Menards has had to do 11% off nonstop for like 5-6 weeks. They haven't pulled the sign down. Normally it'd be like once a week, for 1 week, and then they would go off for 3 weeks. So it's a specialty thing. They are so hurt, and there is so much inventory going bad on the shelf, paints, other polymers, plastics, stuff that you have to use that normally would be flying off the shelves, would be utilized and used up. Well, people aren't grabbing it. It's going bad sitting there, and it's stuff that actually has long shelf lives. In other words, cyclic 2-year, like 2-year, 1 year, 3-year shelf lives. Well, what does that tell you? The people you are seeing are shuffling along gray. They've got their dog muzzles on. Like I've said, they're looking at the ground. They twitchy around. There's no smiling and happiness. What little noise is made is still through the muffle of the dog muzzle, etc. And they're the shallow ghosts that are moving around to go through the motion. They are literally like zombies in that respect. Now, what's interesting is, where's everybody else? They're doing something. Now, this is kind of like the thing about voting. A lot of people right now are very particular about what they're doing, and it ain't going out to go shopping. And if they are going out to buy things like ourselves, it's going out to continue to prepare for what's coming. And there's a lot of people with that attitude. And a lot of them have already stepped out of the system completely, are now actually dealing only with each other that are, the people that are friendly within the areas of interest that they have. And this is why the numbers have dropped the way that they have. People are going right to the farmers. People are going right to people that are tradesmen. Everybody's starting to work with each other and are dropping away from the sham that we are seeing out there. You're not seeing a lot of the quote-unquote neighbors, people you normally see. It's not because they're hiding, like in their houses. They're just not wanting to participate with the stupid. And this is happening more, and they're progressively, of course, one of all the good things. You know what? They have been restricted because they did get bit in the butt about what they had to spend. In a way, for those who have the process of mental discipline, the other thing that's happened is everybody always bitched about the consumer mindset. Well, they put the kibosh to that for a lot of people, simply because they started to step back and had to really look at their accounting and really had to look at their books. And so the big box store who thought they were just going to keep raking in the same amount, they haven't been. And they're trying to shut up even about that. Now, the other problem they've got is if they don't have the product, they can't sell it anyway. There's another part of the formula that goes into this. The fact of the matter is we are headed towards the shipwreck. So we need to be ready with, for instance, let me give you some of the one things I do. I watch for certain tools in particular areas, and that's why I grab all the tools and then I sort. I have everything needed to put a cobbler shop together. I don't want it here, because if it's here, it'll get lost with everything else when things happen. But I do have everything boxed and palletized, and progressively I've gotten all the shoe stirrups and all of the anvils and all the little drives and nails and hammers, tacks, all the shoe tacks, and I got every time I've gotten stuff, especially from older collections, you always get some of that. Rivets and sheet metal work. I've got a whole sheet metal section and a bunch of other sheet metal buckets and operations where I can give somebody an entire palletized group of stuff. And if that's the trade that you are familiar with or skilled in, congratulations, there's everything you need right there. Why? Because we need to be ready to build up our own society, our own trades, and areas where they're going to be needed. I heard a voice. Who do we have?
Hey, Mark. My name's Jake. I'm calling out of Tennessee, and I hate to interrupt you there, but I kind of wanted to get your opinion on something. I was out the other day. It's been a few days ago now, but I was out late at night. I say late. It was late for me. It was probably 12:30 something. I was getting close to 1 a.m. And I was out driving around, and I go through a Wendy's drive-through.
Okay, hold on a second. Stop. You started to move away from the phone, and you're getting a little soft. So stay close to the mic, or don't put it on speaker, but make sure you can talk right into the phone. Go ahead.
All right, I apologize. Let me change that. Sorry about that.
There we go. You're sounding good.
All right, good. So anyway, so I get my food through the Wendy's drive-through, and I pull out and I pull into the parking lot. There was an old Kmart parking lot that I pulled in, and I run a CB radio out of my pickup, and of course I got the whip antenna on there, and I'm sitting there, and this guy pulls up next to me, and so he kind of motions for me to roll my window down. So I roll my window down, and he says, "Hey, you got a long antenna there." And I said, "Yes, sir. And of course I made a joke. I was like, "Well, I'm communicating with aliens." And he was like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "No, I'm just joking around." And I told him, I got it. When you're on the freeway and stuff on the highway, you can hear truckers talking back. Can find out where the cops are or where there's an accident and stuff. And he goes, "Oh, like me, huh?" And I said, "Oh, are you a cop?" And he says, "Yeah, I'm a cop." And then he of course flashes me his badge. So I asked him, I was like, "Well, are you a local?" And he said, "Well, I can go from state to state and city to city." And I said, "Oh, well, are you a Fed?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm a Fed." And then so we kind of get to talking back and forth, nothing real serious or anything. But and he starts saying something about some kind of app that you can download on your phone that'll track any phone. And I can't even remember now what kind of app it was, but I guess that's beside the point. But anyway, we get done talking, and he says that he's there to pick up some lady that was stranded or something like that. So he leaves, and he pulls out of the parking lot and then pulls back in, maybe 10 spots down from me, and I can still see him. And all of a sudden, and I'm on my phone, and I'm talking to a buddy of mine, and all of a sudden my phone just shuts off. And I look up and I look over, and he's looking directly at me. So I turn it back on, and and then it shuts off again. After I get it on and everything, and I'm looking at him. He's looking right at me, and so I didn't know if you kind of thought that might have been just a coincidence or something, or if this might have been like the real deal. Because I told my wife about it, and she was like, "Well, it's probably just some psycho trying to pretend he's a Fed or something like that." But I just kind of wanted to get your idea on it.
There's a couple of things. Number one, there are shunting systems rather than the Shark and all the other ones everybody knows about. But there's a couple of different shunting systems you can do with cell phone, the same way that you can do it with even the radio, the CB radio or any other radio you have. If you have an 800 meg transceiver, because remember, your phone is not a phone. Your phone is a transceiver. It's a radio. That's the part we first have to wrap our brain around. It's not a phone. It's a radio telephone. Okay, in fact, that's the term we used to use. If you watch the old black and white movies, boy, things have changed. Originally, radio telephones were the size of a bread box with a regular phone handle, a phone headset on the top. And they used to come out and, "You got a radio telephone call, Bob." "Oh, it's from the president." And he'd grab the thing and he'd talk. Well, you all have that now in that little handheld unit you've got. Now, being able to shunt or knock an area down would just be a matter of, again, do you want to interrupt and overpower the signal? So you can do that. That's just something we're ready to do across the board. I don't want my enemy's phones to be operating when the time comes in a battlefield situation, and they'll all be carrying phones initially. That's another way we'll be tracking them, too. I've brought that up on the air in the past. The bad guys can get tracked just like they think they're all watching you. You hunt them just as hard. But if you overpower the area with an 800 meg signal, it's very unsophisticated. What it is a dirty transmitter. It will shunt and bump everything there. It will block you from your little onboard computer from doing a handshake with that 800 meg antenna, the tower that you're attached to. And it could do that more than once. In fact, it was either as a government agent or simply somebody mucking with people because they've got, they're a radio geek, or they have a little bit of experience with electronics in general. All of our signals can be jammed that way. We have 800 meg. But we've had for years VHF, UHF, shortwave signal generators. The military made, government made. They used to sell them over at the auction at Sulfridge. We pay $60 a unit. The radio was about the size of a 2-drawer filing cabinet. What's its purpose? It's a jamming unit. That's all it is. It's designed to broadcast with no filters, very dirty up and down the scale within a certain part of the radio spectrum, And it literally, for as far as it can reach, where it's of greater power, it creates crud, background noise, and makes it all, not impossible, but almost impossible for you to get a signal through. With the radio telephone that you have, the cell phone that you have, it's the same thing. Once that link is broken because the whole area is fuzzed out or overpowered, your phone would shut down. Your phone would disconnect. In fact, but it would happen from both ends. The tower would shut down because it doesn't have anything coming through that it can read. Your signal is going to be shut down because it can't talk to and then won't read back with the cell tower. So that's one way it can be done. And it's really a cool thing to remember. They don't want, what I'm saying, we're not supposed to know about. You're supposed to think this is super science from blah, blah, blah. It's not. It's as old as radio. But our first thing is overcoming the idea that phone you have is a telephone. We're calling it a telephone, but it's not. A telephone is where you go home, like have a copper wire or a fiber optic wire hooked up to a whole network, and that's a phone. What you have is a radio telephone. It is not restricted. Here's another thing that's really fun to remember. None of our phones, our cell phones, are restricted because they are not part of the Copper Wire Act. So tapping and all the other garbage where they tell you about, they got to get special permission to tap, that's all BS. Okay? I mean, granted, they still do because they want to go through the motions, and they still want you to think about what you're carrying as a telephone, but it's not a telephone. And the reason they don't want you, they want you to keep thinking that way is because the illusion that they can't break in and that the services don't provide action and the ability to listen to your signal. Well, it's actually under the Federal Communications people, not under the Copper Wire Act, under the Communications Act from World War I, which is where the Copper Wire Act comes from, by the way. So, two different worlds. The big thing here is, yes, it's very real. It's the technology. If you want to have some fun, you can start experimenting. What we've built them with, we do two things. You can use the old bag phones. They're anywhere from as low as an 8-watt to as high as a 18-watt transceiver. Okay, they're 800 meg. They plug into the system. Now the only thing you can do with them is basically, if you just grab them and plug them in, they may still do a 911 call, but you can't use them for cell phone because they're an analog system, and they didn't want everybody to use those. The other reason they don't want you to use those those bag phones is because the tracking system won't work with them the same way. If you have a more powerful cell phone, then that means you're talking to more cell towers. And what that does is it throws more handshakes out into many other locations simultaneously, kind of fogging your location. Certainly they can still cross-reference and line it out, but you could actually cheat with a bag phone using a Yagi antenna. I can talk to a cell phone tower that's all the way over on the horizon, which I have done personally myself. Okay? The big thing here, again, is that CB radio. That's why it's good to have it and keep them in and put more in. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. I'm trying to get my brother to get one in his truck,
Well, any radio, tell him any will do, but, tell him, remind him, every time there's been a disaster, what's the first thing that doesn't work? The cell phones. Why? Because everybody gets on the cell phone to call their mother's uncle's cousin, brother-in-law. Oh, God, call, you would never see what I just saw. And everybody's doing the same thing. Example, when the Oklahoma City bombing took place, they were getting on when the day it happened, and this is recorded. I have all the recording in the studio here. I've got all of them. Every few minutes they would get on the phone and they'd go, would everybody trying to use their cell phone in the Oklahoma City area please stop using it? Emergency services are not able to contact each other. Now, of course, neither was anybody else because everybody was trying to get on the cell phone at the same time, and everybody was trying to check on their cousin, their brother, and their mother. Everybody's good, might be dead. And in reality, weren't anywhere near the bombing or whatever, but it was something, for drama purposes. Well, what it did is it virtually shut the system down. Now, anytime there's a disaster, two things are going to happen. A, let's say that a city got bombed or they do something horrible like that. Two things. Either it's going to get shut down by the government itself, or enough of the equipment's going to get knocked down that what few cell towers are left operational are going to be loaded by the traffic that's left. You see how that works? And so your CB radio isn't going to be like that. Why? Because most everybody somehow thinks that little miracle Star Trek handheld communicator is going to keep working. Now, whoever gets on the other technology first wins.
I've been trying to push that with our little group as well. No, I call it a group. It's really a militia. And just real quick, we were a part of the Tennessee 3%ers, but we decided to break off from then and just kind of form our own. But anyway, I've been trying to get everybody, all the members in the group, to get CBs in their vehicles, and one kind of with a bigger antenna at our rally spot. But they seem to kind of not really want to get the CBs. They're kind of more into the ham radios, which I have nothing against the ham radios.
No, but remind everybody diversification is critical. If you've been listening, you probably know what I'm talking about. The big thing here is if you put all your eggs in one basket with one transmitter, the one transceiver that does everything, the moment that one transceiver is down, you're dead. You're finished. You got to fix it, and in many cases, most of the radios that do everything, you typically can't fix. That's the part that's really the problem. At the very least, remind them, and this is something I would recommend if you can't do anything else, get them in a marine radio. Marine radio sounds cooler. It's got, there's all kinds of extra bells and whistles on the average bear. But, down where you are, if you do a search on Facebook Marketplace, there's a ton of them down your way. You can get marine radios and CB radios if you go over to Facebook Marketplace and do a search all through your state, and then go up into Kentucky, and then go down into the top of Alabama and over to Mississippi. There's a lot of stuff laying around down there. The closer you get to the big rivers like the Ohio and the Mississippi, the more stuff's around.
Yeah.
But here again, depending on where you are, you're not going to have to worry about any other traffic. And the neat thing is marine, you use it when you need it. You don't just use it and abuse that, okay? You don't want to draw any attention. You set it up, you get it ready to go, you make sure everybody works, you do a training exercise with the radios once in a while, and then shut them down. The CB, not a problem. One of the good reasons, because you've got... You've got enough other junk and chatter out there that it really, really is obnoxious. The good thing is a lot of that will be gone real quick if we get into a conflict. It'll like I've said before, it'll be a roller coaster. Initially, a lot of traffic will die down. A lot of people who aren't home are going to be heading home, so they're not going to be on the highway blocking or making noise in your area. The next step is people will start pulling out the radios. They'll start using them. That's where you're going to see the sine wave going up. Now, at a certain point, they will not have thought ahead about power and energy to keep the radios running. This is where the sine wave will drop down again for a bit, and you'll have more space. This is true with any communications that's out there. Most people are, figure, well, the average person with a cell phone, look at how your cell phones are set up. You only have one battery, one for the system. You can't really, with most of them, change out a battery easily, can you?
No.
So if they don't have a power supply charging system, like they shut down the power grid, unless you drag it out to the car, or you did have a little solar system, progressively those 800 meg cell phones will start to fade anyway, simply for lack of available energy. Now, the same is true with everything else that we're talking about. And again, mostly it's going to be working off vehicles, not the only way. But if you're thinking prep and if you're thinking, long-term for the war, all the other components we've talked about, you're going to be collecting as it is. You're going to be looking for, flexible solar panels, little crank generators. There's a bunch of neat ones out there that run off clockwork, African ghetto blasters. Okay, there's a couple of different ones. You crank them up, you let them run. They actually power. They have a little onboard clockwork generator that runs for half an hour, and you charge stuff back up. So one way or another...
Yeah, I've actually got a... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go right ahead.
Yes, sir. I've actually got some fold-out solar panels that I keep in my truck. I've got two different ones. One's a pretty big one, one's a smaller one. And then I've got a... it's like a kind of a small battery, but it's got all these different plugs It's got the regular wall plug. It's got 2 of those on there, and then different spots where you can plug in USB ports and stuff like that. But I mainly got that just to make sure that we keep our comms charged when we can't plug into something regular, like if we're out in the field or something. We always got that to keep our comms charged.
Exactly.
Well,
one of the other things, again, there are still, if you can track them down, you might find them on the ridge there where you guys are, because there's more around like Fort Knox and come bleeding up from the south from, all the other military posts, are the older crank generators that were made for the military. They're priceless. It used to be we'd buy those anywhere for $65, and everybody thought they'd be around forever. The last models were built during about the middle or late end of Vietnam. They were brand new for $65 a unit. If you run into any of those, snag them and then find out what their power outputs are. Usually they go anywhere from 1.2 volts all the way up to 600 volts DC. Even higher. Some of them actually have even greater output than that. So they're perfect for the very problem you're dealing with, and most people don't think about them. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, I to be honest, I didn't even know those. I mean, I knew crank generators. Good night. I can't talk today. Crank generators existed. I didn't know they had those types.
They make them so they actually have the frames could either work with a bicycle pedal that you'd run with your feet, or the most recent models that I've seen. The ones that are military, you can run by cranking them like a bicycle, or you actually operate them by your arm. Yeah, we're way past the top. We got to go. We're on a critical subject, though. You actually brought up a good point. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mark.
God bless the Republic.
Death to the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire is on the run.
We are on the march both day and night.
Day and night.
Thank you, guys. For everybody out there, remember, cell phone interruptus. You are dealing with a radio telephone, and anytime anybody's got more power, they take over your airwave area of operation very quickly. That's how the military plans on jamming everything up when they take over. Same way, this a little more sophisticated in terms of terminology. Let's keep it simple and understand the enemy threat. I'm going to get out of the way. We will be back in an hour, a little less. And everybody, stay cool. Edward coming up. Edward taking over Liberty Tree Radio. God bless. Bye-bye.
This session is no longer being recorded. Goodbye.